Hello! I was wondering if I might trouble you for a cup of strong black coffee, and in the process engage you with an anecdote of no small amusement.
Hello, Herd, and welcome to another episode of the NerdyVerse series
Yes.
here on Nerd Herder Podcast. I almost forgot, but there I landed. I landed like a falcon
You stuck the landing.
in the Nevada desert. Yeah. This is where we talk about not Star Wars and all the lovely things that we love that aren't Star Wars, but similarly give us the feelies. We have promised this a while, and we've been watching along with many of our friends and other podcasters, and I'm
Mhm.
sure other important and smart people. So it's no surprise that we are doing what all have been doing lately and talking about Bird and Bucky.
Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
There you go. Yeah. Except we
Yes.
can't say that. I was literally like, oh, that's what they should call Captain America for. And then I'm like, wait, that's what they called Captain America too.
But like,
Darn it.
okay,
They got to do something like that.
best
It would be
Captain
nice.
America movie, in my opinion,
Right?
was
So,
Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
yeah, I think hands down that's one of the best Marvel movies. And so to see its legacy live on and continue into this new era of Disney Plus show storytelling is exciting.
Yeah.
And that is the mantle they took on. They talk about that a lot, that this is a lot about legacy and everything. And so to get one of the more titular characters like Captain America,
Funny word.
to pass that on and everything. Big,
Yes.
big shoes to fill, big thing to do, and the show
Very titular.
does it well. I mean, I think that much like me and a spry cat, it sticks the landing. um,
Our cats are not spry.
they're just old. They could if they want to. So it's like Master Roshi. He just chooses not to
Exactly.
beat everybody.
Yeah, he chooses to flail on his back like a turtle.
Right. So we wanted to talk about this along again with everyone else, and hopefully we do it in our own unique and interesting way. We always strive to not go with the crowd, but it's hard not to talk about something we've enjoyed so much.
Mhm.
Hopefully we bring a different spin to it, because I'm sure many people are listening to a podcast about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So,
Yeah.
but
What's one more?
like, what exactly? What's one more? I
And
mean, come on.
I cannot guarantee that our takes are going to be completely different, but I can guarantee in this universe they're 100% unique. In
There you
this
go.
universe.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I mean, if we didn't talk about anything because somebody else did, I mean, we'd never talk about anything we love.
Yeah.
And so all we can hope to do is do it in our own way. Maybe we support some agreeable opinions. Maybe we lay down some unique opinions. Who knows? But
Yeah.
no, you don't know until you do it. So I feel like we will. The best way to do it is to talk through sort of the timeline of the show, but from the perspective of the characters.
Yeah.
Um,
We do love these characters a lot. And I
yeah,
think we've grown to love them as the show has gone on as well.
yeah, it definitely reinforces feelings we and I think a lot of fans had about these characters, which is what's so great about this kind of content is that it's like it's not doing anything new for you. It's
Yeah.
just adding on to something that's again, it's that legacy of the these characters have had their movies. They've done great things. You like them. We're just going to continue that.
Yeah.
We're going to take that into a new era. And so again, it's a reason why it's exciting to have Disney Plus to be a fan of the MCU and everything. And so, um, and it's also nice to be able to talk about another very big interconnected story and universe that we enjoy. I think Star Wars is one of the biggest things out there for sure, but I think right now MCU is arguably just as
Yeah,
big.
they're killing
It's
it.
just as popular, and so to be able to put on our Marvel hat for a little while is nice. So yeah, so the characters are the thing that make the show. That's why you like when you ask what's the point of doing this show, it's for these characters. It's for their journey and for what they represent. And like I said, they knew that going in, and so I feel like that's the best way to talk about it is not to spend too much time on the details of the show, because hopefully you've watched it and hopefully you will watch it. And I feel like the story's simple. I
Yeah.
feel like the overall story is very simple. So to just talk about how our heroes win the day isn't as interesting as talking about the journey to the end. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there's a time when Bucky describes Zemo as he's a means to an end. He's just getting us to this point. And that's what the characters are. The characters are a means to the end. The end is the good guys win. Um, and regardless of how you feel, maybe, that is the end of this show. The good guys do win.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a promise of being able to enter into a time of doing better. And so it's more about how do we get there, who gets us there, and how much fun do we have along the way.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's going to be very similar to our Mortal Kombat conversation with a K, where it was just like, we love these boys and
yeah,
we want everyone to be happy, but like, this is dope.
yeah, and so we start off obviously with Sam Wilson. We start off
Yeah.
with the Falcon, and it is the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I don't want to discount it, but it is very much his show and his journey,
Yeah.
at least this season. But it's not to say that Bucky obviously does not get his due. I think though that it's a very shared experience in terms of me discovering myself helps you discover yourself. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it's led definitely by Sam Wilson, by Anthony Mackie, and
Love Mackie.
yeah, he's so great in everything that he does, and Sam Wilson's no different here.
Yeah.
By being able to be the face of the show, by being able to be the lead of the show, and again, that's not a criticism. I think that he would even say he shares it with Sebastian. I think I'm not trying to push one to the side. I just mean that I think you can't argue the story's his,
Oh, yeah.
and Bucky is there with him,
Yeah.
and so to trade out like Chris Evans as Captain America, to trade out the traditional lead of these kinds of movies and adventures, and to step into that, I think he does great. I think
Absolutely.
he sticks the landing.
Like a falcon
Like
in
a
the
falcon
Nevada
in the
desert.
Nevada desert.
I think what Anthony Mackie brings to what he brought to what Winter Soldier as well, like, is this new kind of hero. A hero that is not only really cool, can do sick flips and like has wings, really dope powers,
Hmm.
but also is compassionate. You have an emotionally mature man who cares about people so much. Like,
Hmm.
I think that was beautifully done in Winter Soldier, where you had the character of Sam introduced and immediately, like, I am someone that you can trust.
Right.
I love all the scenes that took place in his house
Hmm.
in Winter Soldier. Just like,
Yeah.
I got breakfast if that's something you guys eat. Like, just showing how much of a
Well, I
caring
think
person
that
he
was
is.
was that no, that was Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
That and Civil War mix a little bit for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that reminded me. Compassionate, caring man, but also low tolerance for for bull crap.
oh yeah.
I love that about him too, because it reminds me of like men that I know
Hmm.
and men that I trust, and in those situations would rely on.
Right.
Like, I appreciate that so much about the character of Sam.
Yeah, and I think that they from the beginning they were building up. I do, I don't think anybody had qualms about where this would eventually end up.
Mhm.
I guess maybe you could have gone back and forth of is it going to be Bucky or is it going to be Sam, because both of them in comics have taken that mantle.
Yeah.
But I think from the beginning they were setting up for the MCU. Our next Captain America is going to be Sam Wilson,
Yeah.
and you see that in a lot of ways he plays off of Steve's Captain America, plays off of Chris Evans' Captain America as a modern take on what makes Captain America Captain America.
Yeah.
And that's where eventually Sam's journey ends out, is he is Captain America because of who he is, not because of what he's done or earned. It's because of who he is, and also uh, his convictions, what he believes, what makes him who he is.
Yeah.
He's not a good soldier because he loves his country. He's a good soldier because he's a good person, and so on. And so you see that built out from their relationship together in Winter Soldier, when he's there for Steve in Civil War as well. He's very much of, this is the right thing to do. That's
Yeah.
why we're doing it, not well, Steve said so, so we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And so leading into this, where now he has to have that that journey of, I, am I worthy of being Captain America? Can that work? Um, it's been building and building, and I think this show has given a great payoff to that development.
Big time.
And I think it's very understandable. I appreciate them not just going with the, well, all right, now because Steve said so, he's Captain America. They very upfront address that there's things that would instantly make Sam pause,
Mm-hmm.
that would make Sam question, um, not Steve's intentions, but his own. Uh, to question even America's intentions. If I do this, what's that going to
Yeah.
mean?
I think that the MCU as a whole has done a fantastic job of exploring Stanley's idea that anyone can be a hero.
Mm-hmm.
And that has stood true throughout, years and years of films.
Mm-hmm.
And Into the Spider-Verse did it fantastically. I think Bird and Bucky did it so well. Like,
Well, because again,
yeah.
it's built on, it's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Who you are is what makes you a hero. And
Anyone can cook.
I think that's what he had. And I disagree because I'm evidence not. I think he had to come to terms with that, because he saw it as, if I do this, I'm gonna be just a black guy who's Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say that you don't have to recognize that reality. That's absolutely true. But I think he has to come to the realization of, I'm not just a black guy who's going to be Captain America. I'm a good guy. And I feel there's almost this sort of pride you have to have in that, I do deserve this. I do, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
spin it the wrong way, but it's like in the end when he's talking about, like, the least I can do is defend. Like, nobody can tell me I can't fight for this country as
Yeah.
Captain America. Like, he almost has to come to this point of pride in himself of, you don't need anyone to tell you that you can be Captain America. Like, you don't need anyone to tell you it can be okay. You need to decide that you're the kind of person that should be Captain America. And
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing, is someone told John Walker he could be, but Sam had to tell himself, I should be Captain America. And it's completely his own journey. It's not because Steve said so. It's not because, well, that one movie and that one nice scene. No, it's earned in that coming to terms with, can I represent some, as Anthony Mackie himself says, can I represent a country that doesn't represent me?
Mm-hmm.
Can this work? And at the end of the day, he's going to be Captain America because of who he is and what he believes, not because of any simple system terms that I think is what he was originally kind of operating in, of, can they trust me to do the job because I'm a black guy? You
Mm-hmm.
know, I have a friend who became a police officer, black guy, and he, come into the question of, like, are people going to trust a black officer? Now, is he the first black officer? No, but he himself had to have a journey of, like, are people going to trust me if I show up to solve their problems because I'm black?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be different? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, very similar journey, I think, here, of, like, are people going to rally behind me like they rallied behind Steve? And I think if he's a good person, which he is, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think that ending scene for him did a fantastic job of
Well,
setting
and
up.
his ending speech is very much indicative of, he sees the world through the kind of eyes of someone who does love the right thing, who believes in it. It's not because it's an America thing, it's because of just his moral compass.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's always made Captain America the kind of character that he is, especially under Chris Evans, Steve Rogers. Because I even said to someone recently, of, like, I didn't think of Steve Rogers in the MCU as Captain America.
Mm-hmm. Thought
Um,
of him as Steve Rogers.
exactly, and it wasn't until this show And this dilemma, this moral question that I thought about what it means to have America on your name,
Mhm.
on your title, and that's ultimately what I think Sam's wrestling with is I'm going to be labeled now,
Yeah.
and there's going to be people on both sides that look at me a type of way. Do I believe in this enough to do it anyway?
Yeah. And I think another thing that that ending speech did a fantastic job of pointing out, that it did so many fantastic things.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the best ones was when you have a meeting advocating for people.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an organization who is supposedly advocating for people,
Mm-hmm.
are those people in the room
Right.
when you are making those decisions?
Well,
That is important.
my organization even there was recently someone who spoke about their time in Nigeria, and they had a board meeting and talked about what they wanted to do for this village, and they were like, okay, we're going to come in and we're going to replace all of your leaf roofs with leave 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 roof leaf. They had leaves
Thatched
for roofs.
roofs.
And with corrugated steel, you're going to get real roofs now.
That's a
And
lot more upkeep.
the village leader was like, we don't want it. If we can replace leaves all day, we can't replace metal. So
Hmm.
it's going to be great. And then what happens?
It's
And,
like the Tom Shoes thing. Like
right.
that disrupted an economy
Mm-hmm.
because people didn't think about, oh, I'm doing a good thing.
Right. And so at the end of the day, they were like, if you're going to give us money, we want education.
Yeah.
We want school for kids, and that's ultimately what was done to help this village. And it's very similar of that of if we don't have representation from the people we're trying to help, um, bridges out of poverty, which this isn't necessarily indicative. This show and conversation isn't
Yeah.
uh, boxed into poverty, but Bridges Out of Poverty is a great book for anyone seeking to help anyone. I think yes, it deals with systemic and generational poverty, but it deals with it in a way of like you can't just give that person a job. You can't just give them even cash and hope that their problems go away. It deals with how you have to make the person, you have to build the person up to be able
Yeah.
to solve their problems long term. Because if you just come in and do what you think is right, as a person who's never dealt with poverty, or as even someone who's dealt with a very specific version of poverty. Like you might even, I don't necessarily believe in every drunk can talk at AA. Just because you've gotten some years of service and you've gotten some chips doesn't mean you're able to completely advocate for everyone else's
Yeah.
AA adventure or journey. I mean, it's a little bit of
That's
an
a lot
adventure.
of an AA
I guess
adventure.
I guess that'd be AAA. But just because your reasons for turning to alcoholism, your ability to get off of it, your support system, completely different. You have to help people by recognizing people.
Yeah.
Like the way you help me is how you help me, not how you help 10 other people.
Yeah.
Also, it's part of the problems with social services, but
And also the acknowledgement that the system is inherently flawed.
right. And so I don't mean to get on a sideline, but I do recommend reading the book. It's a great book for seeing a different perspective on how we help people. And it's exactly that of we
Yeah.
can't help people by not enabling people to help themselves. It's not a matter of I'm not going to help you. You do it for yourself. No, it's a more of what do you need.
Hmm.
Don't decide that the canned food drive needs cream of mushroom and corn and green beans. Ask the shelter what they need. What do you cook with? What do you use most?
Yeah.
Um, that's how you actually help, and that's just coming from someone who works with a shelter. And I guess that's my high horse. So we could
It's a
talk
very high horse.
yeah, we could talk a lot about Sam because again it really is his show.
Yeah.
The last thing I will say is I do love the look. I do
Absolutely.
enjoy him in his Captain America-ness. Hasbro's releasing a set of figures, and I am
I want them.
oh I don't
Dude.
I haven't collected Marvel ever, and I think this might be what gets me in because it looks so good.
I think like the last Marvel thing we bought was the Bro Thor pop, and that's just because you
Well,
wanted it.
Pops, yeah, I don't count those just because I think of Pops as Pops.
Yeah.
Um, but whereas like I have Black Series stuff, I have those kinds of things. I don't have anything like that of Marvel. I've just never. I have debated on getting like Bro Thor. And they just recently released Bro Thor in his Thorness. So
Which is a lovely look.
oh,
I love him so much.
I like. So I've debated a long time. This is going to be the one to put me over the edge.
Get it.
So, obviously, we talk about his buddy in this buddy cop. I appreciated Spellman's one of the main producers for this. His uh,
The Lethal
analogy,
Weapon.
yeah, like you go. There's a point where you go from like Lethal Weapon to Rush Hour, and they wanted to lean definitely more towards Lethal Weapon. And you, as soon as you see that imaginary meter, you feel it
Yeah.
in the episodes and
He's
everything.
getting too old for
And
this.
they have exactly that chemistry in this. And
They do.
you're a big fan of Bucky, so I feel like
I
you can
am.
take the lead on. You can talk about this one first.
Oh boy, do I love broken male characters. I don't know why. I just like a sad boy.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think Captain America, watching the first one, fantastic movie. It solidified Captain America as my favorite superhero.
Hmm.
I'm gonna put that out
The
there.
first one or the second one?
The first one,
Okay.
the first Avenger.
Sorry, I Boba was vying for my attention, so all I heard,
You had to Italian
yeah,
him.
I had to come back in.
Yeah.
Yes.
um, but then Falcon or not Falcon, Captain America and the Winter Soldier came out, and I was like, "Who is this boy?
Hmm.
Why do I love him so much?"
Right.
I think Bucky has been through so much,
Hmm.
and like I'm so happy to see him happy
Yeah.
in the last scene of the show, but he has to get there somewhere. Um, Part of what I love about his character arc in the show is therapy.
Yeah.
Oh boy, he goes through therapy, and I love that so much.
Hmm.
Like I am a big advocate for people getting therapy, even if they don't think that they need to.
Hmm.
So it's awesome, so awesome to see a character go through crap, get to a point where he recognizes I need help,
Hmm.
and then seek out that help. Well, it was court mandated, but in
But
the end, he seeks out help.
I don't think that was she completely right for him? No.
No,
I mean,
I
in
don't
that
think so.
circumstances, you're not going to like court mandated anything. It's going to be very hard. Working with guys who have been court mandated to some of our programs, it's a very difficult journey, just
Yeah,
because you're the guy. Well, I've been the guy the judge told them to talk to. Like,
yeah,
you have to kind of get over that sort of relationship and
yes.
get to something else.
And being the person on the other side of the table, I have been the person who has
Had to open up to a
exactly
mandated person.
and been like, I'm going to tell you exactly what you want to hear so that I
I
can get
love
out of here.
I love the intercut of what he's saying versus what he did.
Exactly.
I want to say real quick, we didn't talk much about that yet, but I love the way they shot the scene of him in therapy. It's very invasive and uncomfortable, which is what it
It's
feels.
therapy. Like,
The harsh angles, very close up.
yeah.
You get to see the minute things. There's moments where you see, Stan acting through very, very minor face movements or
Yeah.
different breathing patterns. Like, I like that. It's focusing on the little details.
Hmm.
So I appreciate it. The
Like,
filmmaking of that.
there's a moment where she asks him an uncomfortable question, and like you see his face twitch.
It's
Like,
literally just
like he
trying to
just clenched
compute.
his jaw.
Yeah, he's trying to he wants to honestly answer, but then he what do I need to say?
Yeah.
What does she want to hear?
Which is not the way to
I
go
do
through
appreciate
therapy.
her though being very honest though too of just being like
That's
that's
cool.
crap. Like I appreciate her pulling no punches with him.
Hmm.
Only because I think she knows she can take it, and she even speaks from. She has a line that shows she had service too. So I appreciate that she's an experienced, a life experienced counselor, not just a book experienced counselor.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference, and I think, and that's the thing I'd say is, although
Yeah.
we advocate for therapy a lot, you do have to be not. You have to be mindful of who that is,
Oh
and
yeah.
um,
I'd go to a depressed therapist before I go to a neurotypical
well,
therapist any day.
I think there's something to be said for people that learn to understand and live to understand.
Hmm.
And ultimately, though, I don't think there was any way this was going to go if where it wasn't ultimately Sam, his friend,
Yeah.
who did the therapy. One of the greatest, next to the final speech, the greatest scene in this, I think, is when they're sharing that moment. And it's so
Absolutely.
important to me that Sam is holding the shield when he's doing it, because that's him being the kind of person Captain America is, saying the kind of things
Yes.
Captain America would say, because it's who he is.
Yeah. And I
You know,
love the prompt right before it of,
you ready for some tough love?
you ready for some tough
Yeah,
love?
I talked about this recently, where I shared about how somebody was like, I want you to understand I know you and love you first of all,
Mm-hmm.
before I say anything else.
Papa Platt.
And so yeah, and yeah, to that, something I had thought of, but I didn't say with the whole Sam Wilson thing is, I understand some people having trouble accepting a black man willing to take on the mantle of Captain America to defend something that doesn't defend him and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Isaiah Bradley represents that sort of struggle,
Yes.
absolutely, because of his experiences. And Sam even says, if I went through that, I would have felt the same things. I understand.
Yeah.
But again, he comes to the point of no one can tell me I can't fight for what this country is supposed to represent. And that's
Yeah.
ultimately what I think he's saying. He's not fighting to keep it the way it is. He's fighting to make it what it should be.
Absolutely. Sam
Um,
Wilson is a symbol of change.
exactly. And so, and that's very real and relatable to me, because the person who's spoken probably most into my formative life is that kind of person who has served his country and readily criticizes and keeps it accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he served and just because he loves this country doesn't mean he doesn't see its problems. And it also doesn't mean that he doesn't get involved and roll up his sleeves to fix them. Um, now, is he Captain America? No, he does what he can do in his own way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for me, this doesn't feel far off, because it's just, I've seen it. I've benefited from someone like that who's criticized something they love for the sake of being able to keep it what they love.
Yeah.
And so I just think for me personally,
Yeah.
I don't think that his journey to, like, you know, Isaiah says, like, no self-respecting black man would be Captain America. And I think his journey to be like, I get where you're coming from, but I disagree.
Yeah.
Because I do deep down believe in this.
Yeah. And I think a lot of this stuff is very easy for us to say. Elephant in the room. We're white
Sure, yeah.
people. We are very privileged,
Mm-hmm.
but we have also had unique experiences where there have been black men who have spoken into our lives, and we acknowledge and we see what kind of men those are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think not everyone has had that incredible privilege.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what's so important, and ultimately part of Sam's journey to becoming Captain America is recognizing who he's doing this for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, by doing this, he keeps open the door that it doesn't have to be us versus them.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be. Yes, there's problems with America as it pertains to race and representation of Black people, Asian American people, Indigenous people, all kinds. Um, Essentially, if you're not white, there's a skew, and you can disagree with
Yeah.
that, and I can disagree with you.
Exactly. You
But
would be wearing a blindfold at this point.
honestly, and again, that's the importance of what Sam represents. He represents saying that and saying that it can be better.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not saying all of America's bad. I wouldn't wear the stars and stripes if I did.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is it can be better, and I want to be a part of making it better. And that's what I think is so important about that is he knows people are going to be looking to him. He knows people are going to be watching, and the way he interacts with what America is and also what it can be, it determines how people grow up. You know, the way I talk about something in front of certain people or do something determines how they do that.
Yeah.
You know, if I say this is horrible, they're going to have in the back of their heads, well, this person said it's horrible, so I respect and believe in their opinion, so this is horrible. They're never going to, like, that's how we get systemic things, is because it just builds out there. So if racism can build and fester in our country because of systemic issues, then so can change, so can good things. It has to be systemic. It has to start somewhere and go from there. And I think Sam, as Captain America, is a catalyst for that.
We have to get away from the idea of, well, what can I do about it?
Right.
Like, there's so much of an attitude of that going around right now, whether it be for systemic issues or helping with poverty.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of, well, that's for the professionals.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not.
It's
Anyone can
yeah,
be helpful.
right. We're all part of the system, therefore we all have a part to play. Every little thing. I mean, we've said before,
Yeah.
especially like with ways to represent Asian folks. I mean, and even black folks. Like learn how to pronounce their
LGBTQ
name.
folks, like
Yeah.
everybody.
Like there's little things you can use their pronouns, pronounce their name right, all of those things.
Yeah. You don't have to. You don't have to run up the steps of the Capitol building waving flags. Like
Right.
you can vote.
You can invoke change by just
Yeah.
doing the right thing.
You can make it clear that this is not okay.
Right. And again, that's Captain America's whole thing. That's Sam's thing is, it's a matter of just do the right thing.
Yeah.
If everybody did the right thing, and that's a big part of the story and the goal of this, the one world, one people. I know it gets skewed by a terrorist group, but ultimately their sentiments are defensible. Their sentiments are real,
Yeah.
in that we have to get to the point where we all do something to make this right. We have to take down the barriers. And that's not to say that, okay, well, we're just brothers. We're not white and black. No, that's what makes us unique. That's what makes us equipped for our patterns of life and,
Yeah.
and to be able to do these things. So recognize the differences, but come alongside each other anyway.
Yeah. We used to be so proud of being a melting pot of a country.
Right.
What happened to that?
Right. So I feel like that's a good jumping off point. We can come back to John Walker, but I feel like that's a good point to go to Carly,
Yeah.
to go to Flag Smasher. I didn't get
Love
that
Carly.
it was a character and a group until the behind the scenes of this. So she is both Flag Smasher and also the leader of the Flag Smashers. It's a little
Yeah.
confusing, but yeah. So as I said, her motto, their motto is one world, one people. They are people who went through the 5 years without half of the population. The world helped itself. Everybody helped everybody because everybody was screwed over by that. Like everybody was affected. So it's literally this coming together of like, hey, we're all affected by this, so let's all work together.
I've been trying to think of like a real world example of that, and the only thing that I could come back to was 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Well, I mean, COVID to a point.
COVID to a point.
Now that you said 9/11, that sounds a little sad, but you know
yeah.
what I mean. Similarly, I would
Yeah.
say COVID more so because 9/11 applies to America, and we
Accurate.
made it this patriotic act and everything, and
And now that I think of it, probably not the best example.
well, no. I
Yeah.
agree to the sense that it applies to America, and
Yeah.
that should unite us, not against an enemy.
Yes.
I have issues with how all of that was
That's it.
handled and everything, but so and this show even deals with some of that of the us making it the us versus them argument and everything.
Mhm.
Did they have? I don't want to. It's difficult.
It's very difficult.
COVID,
And
I think it was a global pandemic. I feel like that, although it didn't wipe out half the population, it has affected people, and it's something we've all had to deal with.
Mhm.
So why is it so hard for us to get on the same page of making it right?
yeah.
And that's ultimately her gripe. That's the flag they're smashing. Is everybody all of a sudden comes back, and all the progress we've made and done has been thrown out, has been undone, and suddenly these new homes that we've come together to make and all of this progress, it gets thrown out, and it seems like a good thing. Well, all these other people are back, so they should get their homes back and all this. Like, it's complex to say the least, but ultimately, the good that was done through the blip
Mhm.
got undone, and ultimately Carly and the group she represents were the ones negatively affected by it.
Yeah.
And so that's their gripe that they build everything on. But and again, it's a matter of I think it's defensible. I think it's this idea of the government came in and tried to fix things and ultimately made it worse for us. They made it better for others. And Sam even has the line, anytime one thing is made better for one group, it makes it worse for another group.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately the dichotomy of the flag smashers, I think, is it's the idea of the government swooped in and made it better for the folks that came back I said the blip earlier. Um, they, that were taken out by the snap come back by the blip. The government helps them and uh, unknowingly, knowingly hurts the people that have been here for the past 5 years.
Yeah. I think it does a fantastic job of kind of exploring the idea of what happens when things go back to normal.
Well, and that's the thing is by going back to normal, we are going to undo good that's happened.
I don't want to go back to normal.
Right.
I like Garfield.
And so I think all in all, like I said, she represents a very good, just cause. I think it's again that twisted sense of it, where she feels like she has to resort to the only possible way to getting answers and getting what she wants, and it just further devolves along the entire show of with everything that gets in her way, she just pushes back harder, and the stakes get higher. Of all right, what do we need to do to get these people to listen and to understand how they're hurting us?
Yeah.
And it eventually devolves into, well, we hurt them, you know? So I thought I thought the Flag Smashers were interesting. I thought it was, anything with Erin Kellyman.
Love her.
She's great. She gets to really show off in this and do a good job, I think.
Oh, yeah, she does a great job.
As you've mentioned, it sucks that she dies.
Yeah.
It feels like the old school comic book movie of we don't know what to do with this character, so we're
gonna kill her.
Yeah.
I have my qualms about that. Like, if I could change anything about the show, I love it as a whole. It would be that she gets away, honestly.
Well, what sucks is in the end, everyone gets what they want except her.
Yeah.
Ultimately, she's still in the end treated like an enemy and killed like one. Now, is it done by someone who has their own devious intentions? Yes, the power broker did it. So it's not like John Walker or Captain America did it. But even still, in the end, if not for what Sam had said, she would have just been a villain to everyone in the narrative.
I would have much preferred if she had went to the raft.
Something.
Honestly.
So I appreciate at least the sentiments pushed through by Sam in the end of like, look, you have to take responsibility for what you did to create her.
Yeah.
You have to take responsibility for what you did to create John Walker. And that's where I want to spin this point to, because he has a moment when he's held responsible for his actions as Captain America, and he has a very real statement and outburst of, I've only ever done what you've told me and made me to do.
Yeah.
Like, you realize, like, I'm just being a good soldier. Like, I was doing what I thought was right, and what you've said has been right my entire career.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, and I thought about this when we were watching the behind the scenes. What he did as Captain America would have been defensible if he were a soldier.
Yeah.
Killing what is agreeably labeled as a terrorist, who had, although he did not kill Lamar, he is a part of a group that has expressed lethal force.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, lethal force in defense is reasonable. So again, if he had been just a soldier, that happens all the time. Like, that's real. That's that. I mean, well, not even that. Like that's officers. That's police officers in the field. Like they, those split-second decisions where it's just like, this is what we do to get the bad guy, right? This is my job. The difference was he did it as Captain America, not as a good soldier. And so, he is right in that moment of like, I've only ever done what you've told me to do. But that's where the soldier in him is conflicting with the heroism of the mantle he's taken. And that's what I think, that's such an important split of Captain America's not a good soldier. No. And that's why that's why this didn't work for John Walker, because he tried to be a good soldier. That's Captain America. And it's two very different things. And so I love the duality of the rivalry with Carly and John Walker, in that they're both created by this broken system. It's just that one gets painted in a very different light.
Yeah.
The government only wants to take responsibility for one, essentially, and that's Captain America, the one they put their name on.
Accurate.
So, what are your thoughts on John Walker?
Where Steve Rogers was a representation of what America should be, I think John Walker was a representation of what American is right now. I think that, unfortunately, we are so up our own butts that it's really hard for us to look around and say, hey, this is broken. You see that in, someone pointed out, I saw a meme where it's all the instances of Steve introducing himself, like, I am Steve Rogers, versus John Walker, I am Captain America. Like,
yeah,
you get so caught up in the mantle.
Right.
Like, we're the best country in the world that everything else gets lost in the shuffle.
America isn't great because it's America. America's great when people are great.
Yes.
When good people are good people in America, that's what makes America good. Exactly. When you get into the ideals of what makes us good, that's what makes any country, any system, any force good.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. It was a meme, but it was so poignant. And sometimes memes are, man. Sometimes, like, I mean,
bonk.
There's many an episode, not all of it. I will not wholesale defend South Park, but there's many an episode where, because of their harsh comedy and commentary, they speak more real about certain issues than any other news source or person or commentator is willing to do, because they just don't care. They care about just getting to the truth and ultimately getting you to laugh about how ridiculous it is, or also laugh awkwardly and then be like, wait, that's kind of real.
Yeah.
That's a little close to home.
That actually happened.
So, the meme of just like, he represents what the realities of a broken system, because he is in reality a broken man. Again, though, he was made that way.
Exactly.
The problems we have in America were made that way by systemic issues. And so similarly, he's not bad because of one choice. I get the whole the Batman comic, the one bad day killing joke kind of idea of, like, if you just get to one point, good people go bad. No, it builds over time.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, by becoming Captain America, that was what blew it up. That's what took, and especially the serums. The serum is the very physical representation of the allegory that is the Captain America mantle. In that, to go back to the Doctor's words from the first Avenger, it makes bad worse, good better. And so the mantle of Captain America is the same thing. It doesn't give you powers, but it is a title and a power and a responsibility that either makes you better or makes you worse.
Exactly.
And we see both play out with John Walker and with Sam Wilson. I thought it was well acted.
Incredibly so. Wyatt Russell, just big round of applause from us.
I think ultimately, and I don't know. In the end, I do feel like the last episode helped me lighten up on him.
Yeah, big time.
I do think in the end he comes around to some good choices. What's interesting about that is he's still on the wrong side. He's still benefiting from Madame Hydra.
Is he going to act on that?
Right. Who, by the way, is that Del Fontaine character?
She has too long of a name.
I'm not going to do that, so I'm going to say Madame Hydra, who she is.
Yes.
She's going to get more interesting, hopefully, in Captain America 4 or the Captain America and the Winter Soldier Season 2.
Yeah.
Either way, but so he's still on her payroll, so it's one of those things where it's like, you've made good decisions, but you see you're still benefiting from a problematic system. So it's like, you've got to. He hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
But it helped me realize in the end, I'm like, oh, so he just really does want to do the right thing, and he kind of made some bad choices.
There are people who are going to manipulate that.
Because I feel like in the beginning you can just take it out. He's bad. He's not a good guy.
Yeah.
I think in the end they show he wants to be. He really wants to be. But he can't see past his patriotism, and he can't see past his pride that maybe he's not going about it the right way.
Yeah.
And so I think overall, great commentary. And I think, and they talk about it a lot in the behind the scenes, it's very real, relatable. It's very of our times to see the two sides of the coin. Again, I never thought about the America of Captain. I always I thought of Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
This show makes you think about Captain America and who that is, what that means and represents and everything. So having John Walker is a very necessary part to that commentary.
Absolutely. Have you ever seen a picture of what Wyatt Russell looks like just 60% of the time?
Mm-hmm.
He looks super crunchy.
Yeah,
and I
it's
love
a whole
it.
different. I appreciate that they didn't go full on. We want another Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
We want another Chris Evans, pretty boy. He looks the part enough, but he also looks normal enough.
Yeah.
Which I think that's the thing. Is
He
it
looks
just
like a dude.
it highlights just that it you know, people are people. You know, there's nothing you can do that makes you any more than who you are.
Yes. And you know what? You just highlighted a flaw to something I said earlier. Is everyone can be a hero. Not everyone should be a hero. And
I think you can get to that point.
I think there's a big difference between being a dude who runs around in tights and being worthy.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing, and have to highlight his co-star, Battlestar. Such a stupid
dumb name, but Lamar Hoskins as a person.
Yeah, and I wanted to see or remind myself who Clay Bennett. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong because his last name's Bennett or Benet, and it's got a little weird little notch on there.
Accent droit?
Yeah, so it's probably not. It's probably French or something.
Creole, maybe.
Clay Bennett. I don't know. He's a cool dude.
He is really dope.
I really hate that he served a very finite character, but
yeah, that was disappointing.
I appreciate. You know, it is interesting though because I feel like that highlights the responsibility of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Even he is blinded by the good, what makes John good.
Yeah.
He Lamar, just like John, thinks he's good because of the medals, because of the career, because of the patriotism. And so it's like we've got to get past what we define good as. You're not a good person because of your status, because of your service, because of anything. You're a good person when you are a good person. It's hard to quantify because that's what it is. We're humans. We're not quantifiable. Yeah. And so it's got to get deeper than labels in terms of what heroism, like you said, what heroism means and everything.
It's the difference between Fox and Rex. They're both good soldiers, but I would rather be in a car with Rex than Fox.
That's interesting because personality, because
exactly.
Of yeah, that's a very good illustration there.
Thank you, and I used clones.
Let's hurry through so we can make sure to highlight our last two big characters. I feel like we can pass through Sharon Carter quickly, so let's go ahead and just like Taco Bell on a Friday night, we're just passing through. I expressed a dissatisfaction with her character with this,
and I think we're meant to.
I agree. I think this is also again a highlight of how good can go bad. They're gonna have to do a bit more moving forward to really sell me on it.
Yeah.
Just because it is a very, very hard 180, but I think more story of her time leading up to being the power broker.
Yeah.
Is ultimately what we need.
And we just need a really big someone walking up to her and going, "You blew it."
Yeah, you blew it. You had it all.
Yeah.
But again, and we talked about this with the behind the scenes thing of like, I feel like the moment where everybody thought she was going to get bigger, you know, the kiss in Winter Soldier.
Which I didn't like.
Or was it Civil War?
It was Civil War.
Civil War. Everybody thought that was the moment where they were like, hey, this is going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
I think ultimately was, maybe not then, but can now be interpreted as, actually that was a sign off.
Yeah.
That was Steve being like, hey, this is what you're going to get. This is all I can give you. Because
just my pillowy soft lips, that's it.
Right. We both wanted this, so here you go, and let's recognize that that's all we're getting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just because I think that, like I put it, he had bigger things to do than get in a relationship.
And, like, you were with me when we watched that. It was an eye roll moment for me, because I don't like unnecessary romance.
Yeah, I know they were trying, and that's the thing is, I think that now, retroactively, again, we can look at it as it was never meant to get to fruition. I think it was meant to be this play, but ultimately with no payoff.
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of the point, the dissatisfaction of, well, I think it never would have gone a different direction. I think
Yeah.
ultimately, at best, maybe she would have just been a shady U.S. agent, but like, um, you know, in this case, I believe. Here's the thing: we don't get that much Sharon Carter.
No.
I don't think you just pull a 180 like that. I think she's been open to shadiness already, and this just gave her the opportune time to really just go over the edge. There is still time to save and make her very Robin Hood esque, but I don't think they're going to go that direction. I think she's going to ultimately play it out to the end to where she's going to just get, you know, get to the climax and realize I messed up.
Yeah.
But there's going to be no saving it. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. I don't necessarily want them to save her. I don't think people are going to feel some way about it, but I don't really think she was ever that interesting. Again, you know, she served a certain purpose with Steve. Here now she's a stand-in villain. I think ultimately she's going to get taken out by Madame Hydra.
I think so.
So, now not to say that she didn't do a great job here.
Oh, she did
A
wonderful.
lot of great stunts, a lot of great acting, and definitely a representation too, again, of that side of, hey, you guys went and fought superhero battles. I kind of got stuck here. I did what I had to do. I like the flip side of, and then the Avengers went home, you know, which leads us to Zemo.
Oh, Zemo.
We'll end on Zemo. It wasn't.
Because
It
he was
wasn't
the
intended.
best.
I actually intended to end on John Walker, but
We got into conversations.
we kind of do what we do here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zemo. I love him. I love him.
So incredible. Daniel Bruhl is just
You mean German Owen Wilson?
German Owen Wilson. Yes. My favorite fun fact is that he was the German voice of Lightning McQueen.
Right. So now people are like, so wait, is he going to be the German voice of Owen Wilson in Loki too? Because that would be great, right?
Ka-chow. Yeah.
Take it away, Earl.
I think Zemo is the most empathetic villain in the MCU. My opinion. I think that he has the most reason to be a villain.
I think he's very
personally.
I think he's very relatable, defensible.
He's chaotic.
I can't, without giving proper thought to it, say he's the most, but I definitely agree. He's one of the primary ones you think of when you think of villain with a truth.
Yeah, and like he is one single-minded in his truth of like I'm going to do my best to make sure that the people who are responsible for my family's death at least take accountability.
Right. And so I feel like he gets to really show off in this. And
he gets to show off in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I mean, by being a very agreeable character and villain, I guess anti-villain is the term for it. I don't know. It's hard to give labels to anything anymore. But by him not being a wholesale bad guy that we should hate the entire time, they do get to have a lot of fun with it and play up certain parts to where, well, because again, it's very conflicting when you take a bad character and make them likable, because it's like you almost lose the tinge of what's supposed to make them a commentary of bad choice or whatever. So, you know, like if they made Thanos, well, no, that's not even a bad example because partly he had a good point too. Darn it, Marvel, stop giving so many villains good points.
I mean, they're making a show about one.
Honestly, though, that's the complex thing. That's what I appreciate it, though, for, is no villain is without their truth.
Yeah.
Unless you're Palpatine.
Palpatine just wanted to get to the top.
I'm joking, but like that's a very general statement. There are bad people that are just bad people, but a lot of the times you can't put it all on they're just bad. A lot of the times it builds from somewhere, it comes from somewhere, it means something, and by making it a wholesale, no, they just have bad intentions, no, they just want it their way, no, they just want to hurt people, we don't see the truth behind it of, again, with Carly. Yeah, by the end of it, she wanted to kill people, but why? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Am I saying that by her killing people it's not right? Or not wrong? No. I'm saying, though, that she didn't wake up as a 19-year-old one day and just say, I want to kill people.
Mm-hmm.
She was led to this point. Personal responsibility? Yes. But what led to that? What systemic issues led to those choices? When we make it the us versus them, we leave no room for empathy, and we then make it out that we are the right ones completely. Because if it's us versus them and they've done bad things, well, I mean, we can't take responsibility. That's their fault. So we are just, we are righteous and every, and it's like, no, you could have, when a fight breaks out, it's never 100% one person's fault. What did you say that led to that? Now,
Hmm.
should the other person be able to control, like, just because they said that doesn't mean you have to give into it. But should they
Yeah.
have said that? No. Like, that's the big thing that's always missing in those conversations. We say, well, they said no. No, don't tell me what they said. Why did you feel the need to respond to it? No, let's actually circle back to that. Why did they say what they said?
Hmm.
Why did you think it was okay to say that, knowing that they were going to do that and then they would do that? Like, that's where we get
Yeah.
these domino rolls and everything. So,
Not to be, Iron Giant on Maine, but you are who you choose to be.
right.
That is the choices that you make inform who you are as a person.
Exactly. And but I think it's important to recognize where we have allowed others to make choices for us.
Exactly.
And that's a big thing about this. Sam tells Bucky, you need to stop letting other people decide who you are and tell you who you are and everything. Like, you can keep saying that they made me make these choices, but you have to take personal responsibility. Now, once you've done that, let's go back and talk to those guys about why they made you make those choices.
Yes.
Absolutely. Like, so it's so important, though, that we recognize that nothing's perfect and things can lead to things.
Yeah.
And we can't just punish Zemo but not go back and hold the Avengers accountable for what they did that made Zemo. I think that's completely honest and fair.
Yeah.
That's what Batman versus Superman tries to do, but
Tries.
arguably, Age of Ultron does that much better. Or not Age of Ultron, Civil War. Sorry,
Yes.
does that much better. Of you create this sympathetic plight. You
Mhm.
create this system where you point out the holes in the righteousness. You say, like, the Avengers aren't perfect. The Avengers aren't without fault.
Yeah.
And the choices they make and the things they do affect normal people, affect other people.
Yeah.
And ultimately then those people affect other people, and it just continues and continues.
It's a lot of people only seeing their side of the story.
Mm-hmm. And that's what Civil War is all about. And all of it's about Tony only sees it his way. The American government only sees it their way. Shield sees it their way. Captain America, even though he's more right, only sees it his way.
Team Cap.
It's a lot of stuff. I agree. Team Cap all day. Which is a great thing to end on, because that's what's exciting. We're using this as a jumping off point to talk about my second favorite Marvel trilogy, your favorite Marvel trilogy,
Yes.
and the beginnings of NerdyVerse entering into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So here and there for the next little bit, we're going to be talking about the MCU. It's not going to be back to back to back. We're going to follow up this episode with a conversation on the Captain America trilogy, because it's appropriate.
And delightful.
Take a time to look back at what led up to this great show. And then down the road, after we talk about Shang-Chi, which I am very excited for,
So exciting.
after we get a proper Mandarin, we're going to go back and look at the bad one and talk about the Iron Man trilogy.
Oh boy.
I hope they make it right.
Boy.
I hope they make it right.
There's going to be a conversation.
And then I think we have, and then we're going to end the year. Our finale for NerdyVerse on the show is actually going to be ending out in one of the best superhero adventures in film ever, I think. We're going to talk about the Spider-Man Raimi Trilogy and MCU Trilogy. We will get to Andrew Garfield at some point. Don't take that a certain way. That doesn't mean that. I can only fit so many episodes. And if I have to choose between McGuire and Garfield, come on.
We have complicated feelings. You love these movies so much.
Which ones?
The Raimi trilogy.
Yeah. You don't? I thought you did.
I love the first two.
Okay. Well, yeah, everybody does. Everybody loves the first two and likes the last one, or at least tolerates it.
I think James Franco does a delightful job as Harry Osborn.
That's it. You can at least say that people did a good job. So
yeah.
Our December is going to be all Spider-Man, because we're getting the possible end to the MCU trilogy of Spider-Man movies. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be the last time we see Tom Holland, but
oh gosh,
no. for a time that's going to be a bookend. Yeah. So we thought it was a good time to talk about that. So MCU is coming to Nerdyverse, so hopefully you're excited about it. We are. You should have known about it. We did our rewatch recently and talking all about that. So things to be excited for. Looking forward to it, because Marvel's always producing something. Actually, no, I forgot. We are talking about Thor too, which is my favorite MCU trilogy.
Yes.
Because we're getting Loki in June, so that's exciting. We're excited to get a fan favorite character. I think that one's just going to be fun. I don't think we're going to have as much commentary and fluff. I think it's just going to be a lot of Tom Hiddleston, like,
and to just
which
bring
is all
down
you need.
the house with such good vibes. We're also going to be talking about Saw at some point.
That's actually next. Yeah, so we're talking about Captain America Trilogy. Then we're going to take a break and get back to our Star Wars because May 4th is coming up and Bad Batch is releasing. So we're going to talk about that first 75-minute long premiere episode. Yeah, you heard right. It's a 75-minute premiere episode. Yes. So we're gonna have a lot to talk about. It's a new era of Star Wars animation, so that's going to be exciting. It's a very unique period to enter into. So I'm looking forward to hopefully some interesting things from it. I have high expectations. So Bad Batch, and then we're going to come back to NerdyVerse and talk about our first horror here on NerdyVerse. It's just going to be exciting. We're talking about one of my favorite series of horror films, Saw. We're going to talk about the ones, the original films leading up to the new spin-off, Spiral. From the Book of Saw, which looks to be very exciting. So we're not going to spend a lot of time. Let me put everyone at ease. We're not going to talk a lot about the gore and the scene. Like
we're going to talk about the story.
We're
watching it for the plot.
We read it for the plot. But really though, I have the appreciation for the story and the characters, and that's what I want to talk about.
You want to talk about complicated people.
Oh yeah, so that's what I look forward to with that series. Hopefully. My endeavor is to give folks an appreciation for something that gets a bad rap. Yeah, like I did. I don't think the gore is defensible, but I think that the story is interesting. That's basically what we're gonna do for 3 episodes. But don't worry, and then we have a hat chatter in there to kind of break up the rhythm a little bit. People enjoy that. We enjoy that. So we'll get back to it. So that's all the exciting things happening, and we thank our patrons for supporting all of that craziness. Obviously, we enjoy it. We enjoy any time we get to talk about what we love, and hopefully you as well. Hopefully our commentary has been interesting. If you agree, disagree, you can hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and talk to us. It's far better to talk to people you disagree with than to just outright disagree and spew hate. And that doesn't necessarily apply to us. That just applies to anyone you disagree with in life. Yeah. But thank you to our patrons. Thank you to our friends over at Red5Network. And I know you jumped in with some watch parties with from a certain point of view. Yes. You talk to so many people on Discord. I get lost because I don't even understand Discord. Yeah. So, but, me either. I just have fun talking to people. They've done a watch party for all of the episodes. Hopefully they'll do it again for Loki. So if you are watching these and enjoy these from a certain point of view, podcasts are great folks to enjoy these with. Yep. Along with anyone else. I'm pretty sure that Kevin from Force Losers is going to talk about it. He loves superheroes, so we love Kev. Yeah, good people. And so and there are only some of the great people doing podcasting and discussing these great things. So check out Red5Network for all of that. Check out Game Infinite. I don't know if you know, but there was a Avengers game not too long ago that was very interesting. And our friend Jesse gave a lot of his thoughts on that, but also all kinds of other video games and everything. And so if video games are your thing, get more of that content by following Game Infinite on Twitter or Instagram, or going to GameInfinite.net and checking out all of that goodness at the source. Other than that, we've told you what we're coming up with next, so it's just about looking forward to that, and yeah, we'll be there for it. Should we end on a dancing Zemo dance? I'm going to fly away.
Wait a minute. You know, this is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.